It's no great secret that Aussies love their 4x4 utes, and increasingly we're using these vehicles for recreational or family duties. Well, if you're that way inclined, I want to introduce you to this, the Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. It's similarly priced to a top spec Toyota Hilux or Ford Ranger, yet it does without the firm ride of those cars, and as you might be able to tell by the dust in our Gator Green test vehicle, this one's ready for serious off-roading right out of the box as well. Let's check it out. The Wrangler-based Gladiator ute landed in Australia midway through 2020, amid a wave of hype and expectation. But with only two petrol models to choose from, both priced north of $75,000, it hasn't exactly set the world on fire in terms of sales. We reckon that's a bit strange, since what we have here is a genuine left-field, American-built alternative to the regular ute set, and in the case of the Gladiator Rubicon, a true rock-hopping option at that. Many ute buyers in Australia will typically pick up their new wheels from the showroom floor before going to town with aftermarket parts. Now granted, a lot of ute makers allow you to do that in-house with their own parts, but no one really offers a catalogue quite like Jeep's. On our particular test car, there are more than $12,000 in options, including this very cool Gator Green paint scheme, the three-piece hardtop roof, the steel bumper, and these cool black alloy wheels. But what recreational ute buyers will really appreciate is what's on offer optionally in the rear. A spray-on tub liner, this rollable tonneau cover that's both waterproof and dustproof, I can personally vouch, and the tray lights in the rear which do a really good job of illuminating the entire space at night. With all of that said, the Gladiator doesn't really reap any huge benefit in terms of tray space for its huge 5.5 metre length. You won't quite fit a full-size dirt bike with the tailgate up, and it feels weight more prominently than a lot of leaf-sprung utes. But if we remember to look at the Gladiator through that whole lens of a recreational ute, it still has a lot of merit. For those less impressed with strut-assisted tailgates and the like, the Gladiator is officially armed with a 2.7-tonne towing capacity and 620 kilogram payload, well down on Japanese rivals. In previous towing tests, we found it performs as such, okay with handling a camper trailer, but not a lot more. The same fun, recreational theme transcends the interior as well. Like the Wrangler, there's a really cool retro theme inside the Gladiator, and it's got the same removable windscreen, removable doors, and even a removable roof. The interior is definitely made tough. It's got a hose-out rubber floor, and there's a general hard-wearing premise to its fit out. But with that said, it's still trendy and comfortable as well. It's got a big center screen, a usable screen in the instrument cluster, and I really like the fitment of all the switch gear. They feel a level above what you find in a typical Japanese ute. For me, the biggest gripes are really the cramped driver footwell and also the lack of odds and ends storage up front. And in terms of that aftermarket ready theme that I spoke about before, well, Jeep has you covered there as well. Right here, a bank of 4 auxiliary points that are ready to go for the future installation of aftermarket radios, lights, or even a fridge. Just like the tray, the rear seat doesn't really take advantage of the Gladiator's huge exterior dimensions, with middle-of-the-road legroom and moderate headroom. But there are some truly clever touches in the rear. In the case of our test car, under-seat storage, a removable Bluetooth speaker, air vents, and permanent child anchorage points instead of the fabric looping tethers used by many other ute makers. Where you'll really notice the Gladiator's huge dimensions is on the road, and I mean that in a good way. Its stretched wheelbase and coil springs at all 4 corners means that it's not afflicted with that typical tremoring that you find in dual cab utes. It's really quite comfortable, and it's not hard work in any way. It sits flat on the road, is composed and controlled at all times, and actually shifts its weight quite admirably through the corners, using disc brakes at all 4 corners to pull up in time as well. Other than that, the major points of difference from, say, a Toyota Hilux or Ford Ranger is that you'll notice persistent tyre noise from the muddy BF Goodrich tyres, a a huge 13.6 metre turning circle, and a little bit more free play and wandering from the steering on the road, which is a direct result of the Gladiator's off-road origins.
And what a suite it is. Front and rear Fox shocks, a forward-facing off-road camera, a disconnecting front sway bar, and front and rear electric locking differentials. The resulting numbers are impressive. In fact, there's barely a chink in the Gladiator's armour off-road. But if you wanted to be picky, the huge wheelbase does impose a so-so breakover angle of 18.4 degrees. Thankfully though, the belly is well protected.
We've done our share of off-roading in the Gladiator Rubicon, especially some rock hopping and some sand driving, and throughout all that time it simply was unfazed. There's decent clearance, there's a lot of good low speed grip and control, and it has no trouble getting traction out of the thicker sandy stuff either. But in my opinion, where the Gladiator Rubicon really excels is higher speed dirt road driving. It's really composed and controlled over corrugations, washouts, sharp imperfections, anything else. And when you do get a little bit squirrely, keep in mind you're in a 2.2 tonne, 5.5 metre long ute. If things do become a bit squirrely or out of control, the stability control suite kicks in benignly and effectively to pull you to the rescue. It works really well.
With the off-roading box well and truly ticked, let's move on to the Gladiator's potential Achilles heel for many, its engine. A solitary 3.6 litre V6 petrol powers the range, and there's no diesel option on the immediate horizon for Australia, in a segment that is fanatical about diesel. All told, the petrol V6 makes 209 kilowatts and 347 newton metres, sipping on a claimed 12.4 litres per 100 k's, which we found achievable in rural and highway driving.
Now in isolation, and especially when unladen, I've got to say the 3.6 litre V6 petrol actually doesn't do a bad job. It's fairly linear and progressive with the way it builds speed, and it works well with the 8-speed automatic, both in terms of finding the right gear for the right application, but also in terms of engine braking, using the gearbox to help with engine braking as you go down hills. Where the engine and drivetrain fall a little bit short is low down torque. The engine really does lean on the gearbox to put itself up in the higher echelons where it makes a lot more of its power and torque. And as a result, it gets a little bit raucous inside the cabin and you'll use more fuel as a result. But if we look at the Gladiator Rubicon through that recreational lens, especially the engine, it really does as intended. It's inoffensive, it's civilised, and it's refined at most times as well.
There is one elephant in the room here: reliability. All we can say here is that we've been behind the wheel of our test car for about 5,000 kilometres, during which time it hasn't thrown up a single fault. Prospective buyers can also take consolation in the fact the Pennstar V6 has been around a while, and the Gladiator is offered with 12-month, 12,000 kilometre servicing intervals capped at $399 annually for the first 5 years.
A 3-star ANCAP safety rating and subpar load capacities means that, for many, the Jeep Gladiator will be automatically stricken from their buying list before thorough consideration. But having lived with one for a few months and learnt all of its quirks and idiosyncrasies, I've got to say I think that's a bit unfair. The Jeep Gladiator is different, but it's a nice, refreshing left field option in the dual cab segment, and certainly a nice change from the droves of Hiluxes and Rangers already on our roads.